Hi guys, this is Cindy,
And Michael.
and I think we only have a couple people in the room so far. Hello to your mom, and to Kiri. Hello, hello, and yes, I agree. Happy baby. I have a picture of happy baby. Um, I actually sent that picture to Tina because she sent us a gift for her, for you know, in the mail. So she had just opened that, and I actually, you know what? It was funny is I told her to say cheese, and she got this huge grin on her face. I was like, well, that's the appropriate reaction for that request. But anyway, so your mom's here, Kiri's here. I think one more person may have joined in the room. We'll have to see. Of course, sometimes you get those silent watchers too, but see who says hi. And that happy baby picture, she's been pretty happy except for Friday.
Friday she was unhappy much of the day.
She was a little fussy and could have been because of a couple reasons, but one is she's starting to chew on her hands like crazy. Like she's been doing that for the last, I think, week or two.
About 2 weeks, probably.
Yeah. And she's only 3 months old, but I'm thinking she might be teething. So we'll see if she gets anything started over the next few weeks, I guess. But she's definitely discovered that whatever it is, her hands are soothing her. But oh, we have Kitty Smith in the room too. Hello, hello.
Nope.
I took this picture just before I started getting ready for the live show. She was sound asleep. Sound asleep. She hadn't slept all day. Although she did sleep in this morning, so she fell asleep. I got the pictures done for the live show, and we got things going. So UP Gardening Adventures is here. So another Michiganian in the house. Hello, hello. We're just catching up on things as people join in the room, and then we'll get going on the actual part of the live show with more information, but more stuff of what we're doing and plans and all that. This has been another ongoing battle, which I think we lost.
She was okay for 2 to 3 weeks, staying off the couch, and then it went sliding behind the bear, knocking the bear off. Yeah, she's figured out she can move the bear.
Yeah.
So we probably have to go to boxes. She may be a little more intimidated by boxes.
Yeah, I don't.
Big boxes.
Big boxes, she might not throw those off, but yeah, for the moment, if you want to scooch towards me, I think you can see. Well, you can't see Puddin'. She's laying on the couch, but we went and put blankets back on the couch.
Back to blankets on the couch, trying to keep the dog hair off.
Yep. So, hello, Green Gables. So yes, we are in couch wars with Puddin', trying to reclaim our nice couch. But she seems to love it because we hang out in here a lot, and she does have a dog bed, but the couch is better apparently, more comfortable. We have a lot to do, and one of the things I did want to go over is kind of, what do people do to plan this time of year? We haven't even gotten started on our seeds and stuff. So right now we've pulled out the seed stash. I moved it into the other room so that I can start going through it and seeing what we have. So that will be on the list for this week, but it's all in boxes. I don't know how you guys store your seeds, but I take old shoe boxes and label them and put different types of seeds in different ones. Although you did just come home with a piece of furniture that we might see.
Yeah, I got a really super cheap, fun to use. Well, it was described as a onion and potato storage bin.
I should take a picture of it.
But that makes no sense because there were no drawers. And if you had onions and potatoes, you'd have them in some form of basket or drawer so that they breathe and they can be removed.
Yeah.
So this had a little mesh on it.
It's like shelving with doors.
I'm sure it's a pie cabinet.
Yeah.
It's not a big full one. It's just a 3-decker bread or pie cabinet that would protect it, allow it to not stale as much and keep the bugs out or whatever. Yeah. So I'm certain that's what it is. But I was saying, well, that would be a great place that we could stick boxes or bags of seeds.
Yeah. Keep the any potential rodents from getting into them if that's an issue, and keep them protected. But going back to the dog thing, Carrie's dog belongs to the couch belongs to the dog.
Problem is, we only have one couch right now, so we'd
Yeah,
like
that's
to
true.
use it. Where we got rid of our biggest,
Our big,
our bigger sort of our section. Well, it's a couch and a big chair and stuff.
yeah,
We just moved them out and haven't replaced them yet, and
yeah,
so we really want that couch available for us. And it definitely, if we have people over, we want it available for people. So yeah, so it's not, and it's also a good couch. So
yeah, yeah,
we'd prefer she stay off of that. She can kind of be on almost anything else.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
your mom did say put something noisy in the boxes so they scare her when she knocks them off. That might be a good idea if she tries to knock them off. Any other ideas for keeping a dog off the couch would be nice. If you have that, she will get off if we tell her to get off. It's just
I just walk in the room and she usually looks sheepish, and if I usually just walk through, she gets off.
except she's not right now. She's sound
Well,
asleep.
she's with you, but if I
Yeah,
walk over there, she'll bounce right off.
yeah. Um, UP Gardening Adventures has to go through their seeds still, going to start some herbs, onions, and flowers this week. Yes, it is time. And in fact, I was going to talk about it later, but going through the seeds is one thing. We have to figure out what we have left over and what we've saved seed wise. So we haven't even purchased any seeds yet for this year, so I have to figure out what we have.
Basilton Mini Farm, first time joining us. Where's
Oh,
Basilton, or where are you from?
Yeah, what state or
So,
other part of the
yeah,
world?
so we know
Um,
what's growing on in your growing world. Or,
yeah. What time of year do you start things? No, so yeah, so we have a lot to do. I first want to go through those seeds, then go through MI Gardener and see what things we need, some of our standard things, and then maybe sort through Baker Creek and Seed Savers and see if there's any fun stuff we want to add to it. I usually use those just supplement.
they have really good stuff.
Yeah.
Baker's Creek Seed Savers are super premiums. Johnny's is pretty much in that category. So yeah, but while you always get great stuff, sometimes you don't need everything to be great stuff.
Yeah,
So,
and
Georgia, okay, good. So
oh, good.
yep, a
Yep.
little warmer. We're in southern Michigan.
Yep. So yeah, and MI Gardner's seeds are actually really reasonable pricing. So that's kind of why we go there first to save a little money. And then if we need something that they don't have, we'll go to other places to get that.
We got little California.
Oh, hello, hello. Couple people from warm places.
Yeah.
Welcome. Hot and humid.
Well, we've been above freezing
Most this month.
Yeah, and most of the last 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
our 24-hour cycles have been at or around or above freezing. So yeah.
Yeah, and Mike's mom was from lived in outside
She's
Atlanta.
just asking if
so
it's the same Basilton.
yeah.
Yeah, I was the Chateau Alon. I was asked a couple times if I wanted to go there in and around college time, but I was too busy ever to make it. So
Yeah. I have to at some point maybe. Okay. Yeah, so Built on a Rock Curie was born in Sacramento, California. That's cool.
how many years? It depends on the seed. Some it's barely a year. Some it's hundreds of years.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much that's tested to that length.
I just listened to a podcast on lotus, and lotus seeds last hundreds of years to the point where they have the rice paddies and muck bogs and stuff. They dig up old seeds and they've been carbon dating. There's a person who collects them and is propagating to do early genetics to see how things have changed through time. She has seeds that are believed accurately dated between 800, maybe almost 1,000-year-old lotus seeds, and they have an enzyme that shuts everything down but keeps them viable except for under certain heat conditions. They'll pop back. In fact, they have a genetic repair mechanism. Having said that, you have some seeds that most seeds are, of course, good for one season. Many are good for two and start losing vitality, and some are good. Most are 1 to 3 years, and a lot of times the seeds will tell you they'll tell you when they're packed, but sometimes they even recommend when to use them. But you can look up online on specific plants, typically how strong their seeds are.
Peppers aren't supposed to last more than a year or so. Although you might get lower yield, you might still get some germination on older seeds. So we had some 5-year-old pepper seeds that took last year, and maybe not at the highest germination rate, but it did decently. I want to say we got probably about 30% germination off of 5-year-old pepper seeds when you're not really supposed to use them past a year old.
Well, and that's getting 90 or
Yeah,
95% plus germination or whatever the standard for the seed company rate is. Clearly, you're going to
yeah,
get reductions. So if you have really old seeds that are really important, successively plant them and see if you can't capture something.
yeah.
There's a good chance you can on old seeds, especially if they're stored. And also they have all
So
the
it doesn't
seed.
hurt.
Well, you have the seed banks and like
Hmm.
Seed Savers that truly does seed saving
Yeah.
and recovery.
Okay, internet's back here. Okay, we're back. We're back.
Oh, good.
We're up. Sorry, guys. Our internet just completely dropped out there for a second. So I'm hoping it will come back on. I'm going to refresh the YouTube page for me. Hopefully that'll come right back here. And if we could get verification that we're back, that would be great. Yeah, it looks like it on our side. So sorry about that. Our internet completely dropped out there for a minute. That was
Yeah, it went
nuts.
totally from full on to totally dead.
Yeah.
And usually it'll bounce hard, but
Yeah.
that was for like 1 minute, no
Yes.
signal.
So, do flower seeds have a long life? I think it depends on the
It
flowers.
does. So even if you talk about lettuce, if you ever get those lettuce blends or like a mesclun blend, which could be I think up to 13 items in a true classic mesclun,
Mhm.
some are really big seeds and some are really small. Some are really hard and some are very, and they're timed to grow at the same time and harvest around the same time, but they're actually very, very different plants. What we consider lettuces
Mhm.
don't all come from the same family. They just have very nice, tender, edible leaves.
Yeah.
So you get great variety in lettuce. Yeah, a lot of your tree and nut seeds because they're heavier. They're long lasting trees, but they also have very hard shells and things. They can sometimes last a little longer.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think your garden vegetables in general are on a shorter span than some plants.
And it depends on the type there too. There are some that will keep going. I haven't had too many problems with some of the greens and such, but some of the tomatoes I've actually been able to keep going for a while. But I haven't tested it on everything. But usually, if we still have a bunch of seeds left over from the previous year, on a specific thing, I'll just plant more than what I need for starting and see what we get and go with it. So that's kind of what we've been doing. So I just got to go through those seeds in those boxes and see what we still have from last year.
I think going back, was Tina was this
It
had
was.
made the comments on the lotus. If you want to
Yeah.
hear more about the lotus, Gastropod, which is a pretty long running podcast of food and science,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's kind of quirky fun. It's the two women, a British woman and an American woman. They did a whole thing on lotus and the lotus seeds. That's why I just happened to listen to that. And lotus not only has the long life, but it has the super clean leaves that the water sheds off and the really bright white flower. And so they looked at nanotechnology of why the leaves shed off dust and water, and they've started replicating that in a paint that they're using on some airplanes to keep them cleaner and have less drag, so they're getting much better fuel economy.
Mm,
So anyway, it's a really neat, probably about 45-minute podcast on Gastropod. But they talked
yeah.
a lot about the longevity of the lotus seed with a American Asian scientist who took it up as her side project dealing with the lotus seeds.
Yeah. And Basilton Mini Farm has mentioned that the okra seeds are almost a decade old and their germination rate is
That's
still excellent.
interesting because a lot of okra seeds came over through the African trade and um, dried because actually a lot of dried okra is eaten through Africa and parts of the world. It's a seasoning and flavoring to you dry it first.
Mhm.
So that doesn't surprise me that okra, and because it's a desert, you know, plant, that it needs to be much more sustainable. If you think about Joshua tree seeds and cacti and things, they're really really long lasting because you don't know when they're going to get a chance to start.
Yep.
So I bet okra does have a real long hold.
And Tina, funny question I'm going to go back to. What about mushroom spores? Uh,
They can.
we're hoping they do, especially the oyster
We have
mushroom.
some. Well, we have some mycelium. They're not just spores.
No, we have, yeah.
It's 2.5 years, almost 2.5 years old. Been in refrigeration.
Yeah.
It hasn't been started yet. It's in a plastic bag. Many old mushroom spores and fungus spores, when they're true spores in the encapsulated form, that's a protection form from extreme weather or lack of moisture. Can last for many, many years under the right dry conditions. Yeah, they're pretty resilient.
Hello, food forest permaculture. Sunny and warm in Vancouver. Nice. Snowdrops are full bloom and daffodils poking through. We won't have that for a couple more months.
Yeah, oh yeah. We're talking
Yep.
probably May, but it could be
Oh no, daffodils will and
April.
snowdrops will be before May.
That's true. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That'll be end of March, beginning of April.
Because we get tulip time in May.
Yeah. End of March, early May, April.
Oh, and somebody is waking up here.
And they'll pop through the snow. The daffodils will start through the snow. The crocuses will come through and will frequently bloom with late snows.
Yeah. So this is Bella, for those of you guys who are new. She is 3 months old and sleepy girl. She just woke up from a nap, and you'd say 9 o'clock at night. Isn't that bad time? She's on a late schedule. Well, we tend to be on a late schedule, so
hopefully she stays asleep tomorrow morning, because I'm planning on to pretty much working a night shift tonight. So I don't know when I'm going to bed, but I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere between 5 and 7 in the morning. And so if she stays more quiet and sleepy, that means I'll get some more sleep.
Yeah.
I'm on some deadlines for the end of the week that I need to get things started now.
You want to tell our new people what you do?
Well, yeah, I've got a pasta business, but we do my dried pasta is about a 4 to 5 day process: production, drying, packaging. So I've got orders that are going out Sunday, Monday. That if I don't get them, they're running a little late. Had some hiccups and renovations, and I've been preoccupied most of the week on other activities. So and these orders just came in. So I decided I'm going to run the night.
Tina's daffodils just came up with buds this weekend.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's been warm. I can't.
Well, if you look at watching the roads videos over the last week or two, I mean, they've got the animals out in pasture and eating grasses and stuff. They're which could work for them or may not, being in the mountains, depending on the year. But they're out for their animals are out foraging.
Well, it's been back and forth too, because we've had some really cold nights. I think they've gotten almost as cold as we've gotten here. Some nights, but yeah. And Sharon has some daffodils blooming in North Carolina. Yep, we definitely won't in Michigan for a little bit, unless it stays warm. Who knows?
It's not been that warm. We've been just a little. We've been well freezing. Under 40. We've been more like in the highs in the 35 and lows around plus or minus freezing for the last few days. So we're not going to be pushing. There's a few weeds and plants, but not much is coming yet.
So
we need to get a bunch more snow. First to make it feel like winter. I've only plowed 3 times.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a little bit unusual for Michigan at this temperature, and less snow than normal this year. But I'm not going to.
We've had a bunch of rain at times that if they were snow, they would have been good dumps. Yep. So I don't think we're that far behind on water, and water table's high. So we need continual water. We really don't need any great amount right now.
Yeah. Wondered how cinnamon grows and found it's a bush. It's hard. Is it hard to grow? It's tropical.
Well, it's warm. Yeah, I don't know if it's. Yeah, I guess it's somewhat tropical.
It was growing in Trinidad when we were in Trinidad 10 years ago.
Yeah. So cinnamon is a bush or a tree, and you peel the bark off the branches. Although the cinnamon wood inside the bark also tastes like cinnamon, but it is spongier and not. It's so. Yeah, and so that's why you get the rolled cinnamon. The higher the quality, they peel off the nicest, thickest bark, and they cut it in sheets, and then they cut in little pieces, and it naturally rolls up as it dries. Mm-hmm. The less quality, which is some of the Asian or Spanish cinnamon, can be bigger, less uniform sheets and thinner. But actually, I find some of the cheap, lesser quality cinnamon is probably I've had some amazing cinnamon that was way better than your classic American cinnamon sticks. But it's all imported, and it's definitely bark.
Yep. And a small Canadian beekeeper says, can't plant there before June. It's too cold and too much snow.
We really can't either.
They have 3 feet so far.
Sometimes we have 3 feet here, but not this year.
No, not this year. Actually, what province are you in? In May, I'm not going this year, but every other year I have a conference that I tend to go to in Montreal, which I
We've been
love
lucky the
going to.
last 2 times we went that the weather popped
Oh
that
my
week,
gosh, that
and
week it was in the
both
70s.
times it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like everybody was coming out from hibernation and love it, running around with practically no clothes on because 70 felt like 90, for everybody else. So
Oh
that
my
was fun.
goodness. Food
Yeah.
Forest, you're making me jealous here. I'm eating truffles and goat cheese, raw Pacific oysters, and drinking hemp beer.
Wow, are you at home or are you
Out.
out? Because that sounds like eating out food.
That sounds really good. I don't know about the hemp beer, but the rest of it, truffles, goat
Yeah,
cheese,
there are people
oysters. Yep.
using hemp as their hop replacer in hopped meads.
Mm,
That is being done.
yep.
Um, yep.
Yeah. So, I'm just skimming through the rest of the chat. Um, tell us about the honey frame. Okay, here we go. That honey frame.
So I got a little bug in my ear when I walked into farmers market yesterday, um, winter market, that one of the apple growers had 4 frames of honey that they were selling full frame, which I didn't even ask him why. I'm guessing that's an old frame that they're changing out, or we think they lost a hive or something.
I
It's
don't
kind of the
know.
wrong time to be harvesting honey, so I don't know. I should have asked the circumstance, but I was told it was at a pretty good price, and it sounded good to me. And so I said, I will definitely. I told him right away, I'll take one, and I'll pick it
Yeah.
up at the end, and make sure. And yeah, I was more than happy to get it. So
Yeah.
I don't know how many other people have seen. Well, you can get the nice cleaned up
Oh, the little
boxes
ones. Yeah.
of comb, which would be about a quarter one of those frames. I think that's what's called a short frame. Or
Yeah.
thin,
We're not beekeepers, so the beekeeper in the room can
yeah, I think that's a
answer our
short
questions.
frame.
I'm pretty
I
sure
don't know
that's
how much
yeah.
honey's in there. It's pretty heavy, but you've got wax and you've got the frame.
Yep.
I gotta say, it feels like it must be, I don't know, 10 pounds. I don't know.
Mm.
But I don't know what the honey yield on it's going to be. I'll probably cut it out of the frame and store it in some bags in a, probably 4 pieces or something. But
Yeah.
it seemed like a good deal. It's actually from an orchard that's just a few miles from here.
Oh, by the way, going back
Yeah.
to small Canadian beekeeper, who's the beekeeper in the room, who could probably answer that question about the frame, but it's from New Brunswick.
Okay.
So that's
Never
a part.
been able to go to New Brunswick.
No, I haven't.
That would be fun.
We don't live very far from Ontario, but we grew up right across the river from from Windsor.
Yes,
So
elderberry grows very well in Michigan
yes, it
and through
does.
much of the country. I think it's mostly cooler area.
Shallow frame.
Shallow frame, yes, because yes. So I
Okay.
don't know if it's common to sell them in frame like that, or why some would choose to do that, or what kind of a going price. I know honey varies greatly in price
Or
from
medium frame.
yeah, shallow frame, because I looked it up and that it equated what I thought with you're right,
Yeah.
a shallow frame.
So okay. When Carrie was the baby, the hops were grown very close by. Now that area is 100% city. We have some hops.
Michigan
We
is
have a
known
lot of
for
hop
growing hops.
Yeah.
It's actually exploded in hop growing as a cash crop over the last 10 years with all the breweries. There's actually a lot of people are tearing their hops out right now. Well, we're trying to put in marijuana or hemp and chasing another cash crop. So it's sort of an unfortunate situation that there was some push from the state as a crop, a historic crop, and then also from some of the big breweries to get more local hops. And some of that's still going on, but a lot of them chose to grow different varieties of hops for the big IPAs. I think a lot of Cascade and things. Well, right now we're seeing all the sours going back to some of the Bohemian style Pilsners and changing. So a lot of the hops that the people chose and they didn't diversify, they just cash cropped them, are not in demand, and so they can't make a profit, and so they're either stagnating or ripping them out instead of converting. So it's a good story and a bad story of a traditional crop.
So Basilton Mini Farm said full frames are often used in upscale dining on display and scoop your own honey and wax.
I have definitely used the pieces.
He's a chef, by the way. If you have
I bought the pieces in the boxes from. We had a really good grower that had a pretty nice boutique shop outside of New York City. And we would buy them and use them for cheese boards. Of course, most patrons and we're like, what is this? What do I do with it? It was like, it's honey. You eat it. You stick it in your mouth. You can break open the wax and kind of push the honey away, or you can chew on the wax. It's you do whatever you want, but it looks great. And so I've definitely used it in quite a number of displays. But yeah, I've never done the full frame or been offered it. So
yeah, so that was a fun market find, definitely. We've kind of bounced around topics here. We'll come back to food, and you guys, we do have Ask the Chef section here, but I wanted to get back to the seeds briefly, if you guys didn't mind, because we are, like I said, we don't have anything bought or planned yet. Hopefully in the next
we've got
week
ideas,
or so.
we just haven't put it all together.
Yeah, we have to see what we have and then look at what we need.
I spent about 5 out of the last 7 days solving a plumbing issue of a sump pump that generally works very well, but decided to get all confounded and took quite a chase. I'm not sure if I had one problem or multiple problems, but there was a lot of pumping and a lot of plumbing and replacing and moving around until we got it.
That finished.
Water going the right. That finished this morning.
Hopefully, yeah.
I think we got it. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
okay.
I had a backflow preventer failed among other things which I think may have failed first, but so it was a little bit of a chase and a lot of water.
So you guys, a lot of people, there is a person who makes like a slide rule or something, seed planner, but just to give you an idea, you guys, there's a lot of different things. And please mention how you guys plan on starting seeds. What do you do to kind of make that plan and garden calendar? But the one thing that we do is we actually use this book to help plan exactly when to start what seeds. And I've used it the last few years now. You can write the dates in the book and notes in the books, but what I started doing a couple years ago is keep a separate calendar and coordinated and wrote down on the separate calendar what seeds to start what week, so that I know for this year exactly when it is and can look at it at a glance. But I'm hoping I'll be able to keep up with that this year, and hopefully not too big of a project. But
I had used years ago. Johnny Seeds on their website has an Excel downloadable spreadsheet that you set to your frost-free date, and then it pretty much auto adjusts and does the same. You can then log it as a spreadsheet. Same principle.
And I think I'm blanking. Burpee Seeds also has something similar to that.
Yeah, they've got a general planting calendar. And
yeah.
So they've got,
But yeah, I mean, this does the same thing. It has in the middle of the book, it has your average frost-free date, and then you date the sections, backdate it, and you go forwards dating it. And that way you can kind of plan on when exactly you should start things based on that.
Book, I think I got it because I had a whole day seminar with the author on market gardening, and it has all kinds of resources for anybody who's getting serious about actually trying to grow and sell.
Yeah. And
they have succession planting guides for how often you need to repeatedly plant crops to keep as long of a season crop possible available going to market.
Yeah.
Which is really important when you go and some of that's important for your home and that you're getting a somewhat consistent yield. But when you're going to market every week, that you can try and repeatedly bring a similar amount to market or make it available to your wholesale customers. It becomes life or death when you got too much one week or it all yields at one time and then you've got nothing.
So that's perfect for the market gardeners, definitely.
Yeah.
Tina, you're right. It's Clyde's, and you can get it on Emma Gardener for $3. Now, the nice thing about this book is it also has things like when to do what garden chores, like when to do your different things for your tools, when to do your different things for your weeding, for your cleaning your garden, for different and tips on all of that too. So Green Gables, I think you won it last year. We gave it away last year, probably January is my guess, or December. I think you won last year in December, but I have my list of winners here. So
is the Farmer's Almanac reliable?
Is it still
That's
available?
yeah. Oh, it's totally
Yeah, I
available.
don't. No, I
Um,
didn't say available. Reliable. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing to read, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure how reliable it is at this moment. Some other people may have opinions
I have no idea.
on that working or not. I do know that the Farmer's Almanac had suggested a not overly snowy but extra cold winter this year. At this point, we haven't had an overly snowy winter, but probably less than average even. And
Yeah.
we have been far from extra cold. So
We've had
we
a
did
few.
have two cold, really
We had a
cold snaps.
couple cold spells, but most of it has been slightly over freezing, so
Yeah,
that's
and
unusual.
all your ag schools. So Michigan State is our ag school and one of the big ones. Cornell, University of Minnesota, and a whole list of them frequently have a million free sources of information on food and growing and animals and meat and doing things safe and smart plans. They are such a people don't realize how much stuff you can get with simple searches on those ag schools.
Yeah. So yes, Green Gables won it last year. She says,
Good.
well, I shouldn't assume. I'm assuming she. I don't know your name. Green Gables. Um,
Tina's turn to win.
Tina's turn to win. You want that book. So yeah, no, I love that book, and you put it in conjunction with a calendar, and you can use it over and over again, which is super nice.
Or if you run a calendar on your computer, that way
Whatever
you
you
can
want.
also get or a simple spreadsheet set up.
Yeah.
You can actually put next to year, because what most farmers do
Compare.
and market gardeners is they want to keep 3+ years or sometimes 10 because they look at all their amendments and all their timing
Mhm.
and all their seasonals. And so they want to create patterns. And when they see things happening, they want to see if they can create methods to adjust. Or
Yeah.
if they see consistencies of good or bad problems, obviously you want to try and keep or change your activities.
UP Guardian Adventure is supposed to. It says supposed to be a super hard winter up there, and
Yeah.
it's been like April weather all winter.
Yeah, you got a few
Pretty
storms
much.
coming through, but some came through mostly rainy up that way too.
Well, all the way up in the UP. I know on the lower. Yeah.
One of them came through and touched the lower UP with looked like
Okay.
rain a week or so
Oh
ago.
yeah. Yeah.
I know
It
that
shouldn't be raining this
what
time of
was it?
year.
The far tip, the peninsula off of Wisconsin in I want to say November had something like 6 feet of snow in one town or something, or 8 feet. I
Nuts.
saw pictures that were
Yeah.
insane, but that's also known to be one of the snowiest
Thanks, Green Gables.
parts
Thank
of
you,
the country.
Jennifer.
So
So it is
yeah,
she.
yeah.
And I'm so bad at remembering names. All I could do is recognize the your what do you call it, channel names or
We
whatever.
remember Carrie because she used to go under Carrie before
I
it fell down
know.
a rock.
I remember Curie because she's been around a while and
Yep,
she used to be under Curie.
yep.
Um, so
I want to
anyway,
know back about the truffles and cheese and where those came into play. You showed up.
so yeah, you could talk about those, bring up those, but we wanted to do a giveaway, and we have a lot of people in the room
Yeah.
right now, and well, not a
Yeah,
lot of
we've been
people, but a
getting
decent
rain
number.
off and on. We've actually been getting some snow spattering a little bit here in
Yeah,
the evenings, but more rain than snow.
yeah.
So it's been wet. It's getting mucky wet. It's getting like over the last week and a half, we're getting mud pits.
Okay. So we were going to do a giveaway because what we do, for those of you guys who don't know, I know we're bouncing around because we're reading comments and commenting on those as they come up, but um, once a month at a random time in the month, and sometimes the last week if we forget to do it any other week, we do a giveaway. And something little, something like this book, or we always give it the choice. If you want pasta instead, you can always grab that
Two bags
as
of
well.
pasta.
Two
Yep.
bags of pasta, or in this
Or whatever the option. So that
second
way, if
option
you're
in
not
this
a
book,
carb or a gluten or whatever, you just
you
please
have options.
pick the book, select the pasta. It doesn't matter. We send them direct. Well, I do the pasta
Hi,
from
Delia.
here, and
Yeah,
the book usually comes from Amazon or
yeah,
whoever the seller we
yeah,
have available.
yeah. It's usually typically Amazon because they're the easiest ones to send from.
And a lot of these books are
In the kits.
in your kits.
So if you look at the description down below, one, you'll see the West Michigan Pasta and Provisions webpage link, and two, you'll see our kit, which will kind of go through all these different things that we use and mention that we use here. A lot of them are linked to Amazon through our affiliate link, so it doesn't cost you any more, but we get a small percentage if you do buy it. And Pasta is life.
So I put out in my wholesale email today that goes to my wholesale clients on Sunday, just kind of a check-in and reminding them to put their orders in. And I usually give them a little something on pasta or something going on. And I told them, don't forget that Super Bowl's coming up, so plan your Super Bowl parties. Everybody loves the penne vodka, the baked ziti, and of course the macaroni and cheese. And please don't put our pasta in your chili. That was the email today.
Yeah, right.
Because in the Midwest, since we're casserole world, it's not fully uncommon to not only decide whether you put beans in your chili, which can be debated, I think, in Texas and other places, but it isn't uncommon to put elbows in your chili to stretch it and make it more casserole-like, which is, in general, a big no-no.
Goulash.
Well, that's,
It's a little different.
So, please don't put our pasta in your chili. Put it everywhere else.
Well,
serve it on the side. Can make chili mac, I guess, but that's a little different.
Yeah, well, okay. Anyway, so there's lots of posts there for love the pasta. So a number of people have chosen the pasta option when they won in the past.
I am making more of the tricolor pasta tonight because I got wholesale orders last week and I'm out.
Yeah, cheeky one.
That was supposed to be a chef limited edition for like 2 or 3 months, and it got picked up on some of our wholesale, and I now make it pretty much year round because it sells really well. So yep.
So rules for the giveaway.
Oh, yes.
Well, what we'll do is we'll ask you a question and
vodka sauce. We'll talk about that after the giveaway. We can do a vodka sauce, yeah.
Yeah, vodka sauce. We'll have to.
I got a pretty good one.
Yep. So anyway, the rules for the giveaway: the last people who won the last 3 months can't win this month, and I might have to adjust this little one.
Casseroles, yuck. All right, you're kicked out of the Midwest, Green Gables.
Yeah, right. I don't even remember where Green Gables is located right now. I can't think of it. But yes.
Is Panette sold out? I don't think
Penne sold.
We have a Panette.
Yeah.
Which is a small penne. It's more like a ziti because it's flat. I think they have that in stock.
Well, then I have to double check the webpage.
We may be a mistake on that.
It was sold out at one point, maybe.
I am out of Casarecce. I'm making that. I stopped making that to come do the live show. So, yes.
Okay. So, the last winners from the last 3 months cannot win this month. So that would be Valerie D,
Carrie from Built on the Rock, and Linda Taylor, all regulars. Have been ganging up, so maybe some of the new people can win.
Although Tina really wants to win.
Tina's won. Well, she won 4 months ago, so she is re-eligible.
Yeah, she is.
As of now.
Okay, so I will ask a question, and the first correct response on our screen is going to be the winner. Now, it doesn't always show up in the same order on other screens, so it has to be the first correct response that we see on our screen on our end will be the winner. And you have the choice of winning either the week-by-week Vegetable Gardener's Handbook or 2 bags of pasta. You just have to let us know which one. You have to either send us an email at parttimepermies at gmail.com or shoot us Facebook message or just let us know.
Turn the sprinkler off. We'd be making an ice rink if we turn the sprinkler on. You better hurry up and do this thing so she can turn the sprinkler off.
Okay. So.
I don't think Carrie can win. She's ineligible. She won in November.
Yeah, that's true. So you can go take a break. You can run out, turn it off, and come right back. So, okay. Anyway, the question this month is, how old is Bella now? Our daughter, who just showed up on the screen.
Years, dog years, Chinese years.
I don't think we're at years yet. How old is Bella? And we'll take it to the month. So come on, the answers. How old is Bella? Whoever shows up first.
Usually you give the answer away in the live show. You didn't do that.
I did. I mentioned it earlier. Okay. I did really quickly earlier.
Sometimes it's in current videos, but since your videos have been on
On
limit. There you go. Basilton, you won.
Yes, see, I told you I mentioned it earlier.
All right.
So, Basilton Mini Farm, you're gonna have to either email me or shoot me a Facebook message.
Oh, Tina was close.
Oh, you were number 2. So I'm too new. No,
You're
you
not
can
too
do
new.
it.
You're
You're good.
that's a pretty
Oh
high.
my
We had a
gosh.
pretty high rate of success on that one.
Yeah, yeah, right at 3
Then
months.
people got crazy.
Well, they're only a month off for most of them. But so yes,
Well, if
so
Basilton did guess, she's just a couple of days over 3 months, so
yeah,
you're still the winner.
yeah. So Basilton Mini Farm, would you like send us either a message or you could tell us now whether you like the book or the pasta. If you like the pasta, go to the webpage and let us know which ones. You can send us email, like I said, parttimepermies@gmail.com, or send me a Facebook message. If you're not in our group or page, you can actually go to those on Facebook and check that out.
Or the email. Yep.
Or the email. Or
Yeah.
technically, I guess Instagram too. You have messages there, direct messages as well.
And if you're looking at the pasta, you also want to look at our website and select
which two you like.
2 items, and I'll send them to your address, and they'll probably arrive near the end of the week if I get my act together fast enough. Usually I do.
Yeah.
And then, or you could say just select 2, and
yeah, if you want our pick,
I will pick 2, not 2 that are lagging and hanging
Yeah.
out, but 2 that I think are actually good.
Awesome, awesome.
I don't have many that lag actually, so that's not a problem. But
so I got to remember to write down that you won.
Basilton Mini Farm.
And of course, if you're sending me a message, remind me who you are.
And her name is Kara Basil,
Oh, yeah.
I think, unless she's Carol the other name.
No, it was.
Because
Basilton Mini Farm, was it Kara? I thought Kara was the. Yeah, no, that is. Yeah, you're right. It was Kara with a K.
Yes.
Okay. Writing it down.
You have 2 from me. You have 2 sections. Oh, you may have the cavatelli and the shells, which is like a medium-sized shell.
Yeah.
They're both shell shaped, but the one is a thicker, more of a cavatelli or semolina cavatelli.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, you're welcome. That was a great first visit to a live show. You won pasta or a book, whichever your choice is. And if
Kara Bassett, that's
yeah,
what it
okay.
is. Yes. All right. Well, that's
awesome.
Good. We probably won't remember your name, but eventually, maybe.
Eventually, we learn. We're horrible with names. Really bad with names. Okay, so we could get back to the cooking questions and ask the chef.
Open questions.
Open questions. Did you have one way back there
or
already?
Continue questions on seeds or what you're growing or what you want to cook or.
Yeah. Vodka sauce.
What are you cooking on Super Bowl? That's another. We don't do much for Super Bowl. No. We're not. In fact, we might be traveling a little bit on Sunday.
Actually, we should probably just make that announcement. Yeah. Next week, Sunday, we will not be doing a live show. We hardly ever miss a Sunday. But I'm actually going. Yeah, I'm actually going to be going across the state for multiple reasons. Partly to visit family, partly to make pasta deliveries, and partly for other things.
Yeah.
So we will be on the road next week.
They're big and little shells. Yes, I would know what you mean because I only make 2 things that look like shells. Yep. Yeah, and I am likely, I may or may not go on that trip because it's going to some of my customers that she takes care of too. But if I can make it happen, I'm also going to go on that, which will probably potentially put us on the road in the evening. And then, of course, it is Super Bowl. Although we've had pretty good attendance between halftime and people just didn't care.
Do it from the car.
We have kind of done. Yeah. We might do a live check-in. I don't know.
Okay.
Actually, I think would be with family at 9:00.
Probably with the family, yeah.
So in that case, we probably won't.
Yeah, so it'll be pretty hard to do.
It wouldn't be the first live show from a car for us or many people,
or from families' houses. We've done that before too, but because we've done it through our cell phone, we can't do a full-on picture slideshow thing when we're on the road like that.
So Super Bowl is always a weird thing for me. I always had semi-interest in it, but I'm not a huge NFL fan, although I like football. But being a chef, I have spent most of the last 20 years working nights and weekends, which means more often than not, first of all, I'm not watching the games through the season, and then I am usually working. Now, Super Bowls in most places that I work, because they are fine dining, are usually very slow, like terribly slow. And then everybody is surprised at what and upset why we're not making money. It's like, well, we told you. So some places we have closed just because it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Other places we kind of stood around and kind of limped along, but that means that it's not really always a big deal for me. But that's fine. We're we're not opposed to it. It's just not been part of our pattern for the last few years.
Yeah. So,
so we can go back to
sauce.
vodka sauce. Yeah.
How do you make vodka sauce? What is vodka
well,
sauce?
a lot of vodka sauce doesn't even have vodka in it. That's the secret of most restaurants. I come from fine dining where it is our expectation that if you make a claim that you actually you can guest host. Yeah, Tina, we'll send everybody over to you. That'd be fine.
That's too funny. Yeah, right.
Yeah. You could run a static screen that says we're off this week, but see Tina's live show.
Oh my God.
We have so I come from a background where classically trained, which means we really appreciate those that came before us, and if you say something or a recipe demands something, you actually do it. That is not always the case in food, unfortunately. So vodka sauce, I think, is really more of an American thing. I don't know if you'd really feel on Italy, but it's tomato cream and hopefully some vodka. Lots of variations, but the way I make it is I sweat down onions and garlic. It's best made with some form of cured pork, so pork jowl, pancetta, guanciale, ends and pieces of speck, or which is smoked, which isn't always necessary, or prosciutto or whatever. No. And don't use your best stuff. You can use the neck of a prosciutto. Not that we all have prosciuttos hanging around. The stuff that's getting a little funky or it's hard to slice thin.
So many variations.
But I do think that the use of cured pork, I mean, in a pinch, use bacon. It's fine, or salt pork. But that flavor combination changes the entire sauce. You can make it without. I make a vegetarian version, and then add in prosciutto at the end, also. But
obviously for the non-vegetarians.
Yeah, so I can do a big banquet without it, but it definitely tastes better if you can work down some cured pork. So and I choose to make it a really hearty sauce by sweating my onions so they're just beginning to brown a little bit, and I toast my garlic so that I get a toasty garlic note, which isn't very common in traditional Italian food. It's more common in American food, but again, I want it robust. So that pork and toasted garlic are sort of flavor profiles in mine. And then I add the most robust use of dry herbs. So I use a good amount of dry basil. Pepper flake, a good amount of crushed pepper flake goes in there. A good amount of olive oil because I want it to really soak up all this stuff. And I put in the dry spices after I brown down the meat and the onion and garlic because I don't want them to burn. Good amount of dry basil. I do use some oregano. I don't use oregano in a lot of my sauces, or very little, but I use a modest amount of oregano. I put some thyme in there, and I put lots of fresh cracked black pepper. So coffee grinder, black pepper. Again, it should have a peppery note, both in the spiciness of the crushed red pepper and in black pepper. Once that's all kind of getting hot but not burning, I dump in vodka. If I am making, so restaurant like number 10 cans, the big cans, if I am making like a 3 or 4 can batch, I will put in a quarter of a bottle of vodka.
Someone had a vision of putting garlic in the toaster.
You could try that. That would be one method.
How do you toast your garlic?
There's lots of ways. Probably the best way to get is to put it in a bunch of neutral vegetable oil or blend or cheaper pumice olive oil, and put it in the oven wrapped up in tin foil and let it sort of steam and roast in an abundance of olive oil. That keeps it from getting sharp, and it will kind of confit it, cooking in oil, causing it to go soft, get roasty, toasty, sweet, and then I let it go until it starts to brown a little bit on the outside. I cool it down, and you can actually put spoonfuls of that infused oil and that cooked garlic into a sauce and blend that up, or hand chop it up. That's a really good way without burning it. Otherwise, you got to watch it close.
Yeah.
So I do put vodka in. I just let it kind of simmer for a moment. Watch if you're using gas that you don't get it to
flare.
Flare, especially if you're using a shorter side pan. I do not cook out. This is one of the places I don't cook out the alcohol much. It gives it a bitey flavor. That's when you can tell that there's vodka or no vodka, as you get a back sort of bitiness, I've noticed. And then I put the tomato shortly over the top of that, and I usually use a good amount of paste, significant, so it's
tomato
quite
paste.
Yeah, quite thick on the paste, like twice what I'd put in probably a regular marinara. And then I stir and make sure it doesn't burn and let it simmer. Going back to the vodka, doesn't really matter what vodka you use, so whatever you got laying around is fine. Buy something cheap, that plastic bottle stuff, so you look like a drunk. The little bottles that you stick in your pocket, that's fine. Not the little airplane. Those are too small. It's not enough. You'd have to buy too many. So the last time I had to make vodka sauce for something, incidentally, we ran into the local grocery store. I looked at their super cheap vodka, and I got something, a little plastic bottle. And when I left, I got home and I noticed I'd been charged for 3 of them or 4 of them. I think they'd hit the button wrong on the register. Well, that's a problem because you can't return liquor. No. It's hard to get an adjustment on it. I went back to the next day and said, hey, look, I bought some vodka here. I've got like 4 of them charged. I'm cooking with it. It's really cheap, terrible vodka. Believe me, I don't need 4 of these. I wouldn't be buying 4 of these. Is there anything you can do? And the guy at the desk was like, yeah, no problem, and took them off.
Oh, nice.
So that was.
Oh, thanks, Tina.
So put that in Bella's account.
Bella's
account.
We
got a little account for Bella going. So I like, by the way, when you're going with cheaper vodkas, if you want to splurge a little bit, Smirnoff actually is your best lower priced vodka that rates the best. However, Cooks Illustrated years ago did a really nice look at vodkas and if the quality of vodka makes for a better vodka sauce, and they were adamant that I think they used Chopin or something, and that made the best vodka sauce. Huh. Well, Chopin is $50 a bottle. You got to be. I don't care if it tastes better or not. That's stupid. So use whatever vodka you're comfortable with, or is laying around.
Something like taking, like last week's conversation, taking your expensive bottle of wine and cooking with it.
Taking your $200 Bordeaux and making bourguignon with it. I mean, it's just yeah. I mean, it's an splurge to begin with to have a bottle of Chopin or a bottle of Bordeaux in your possession. The last thing you should be doing is cooking with it. I put the tomatoes in. I've got the dry herbs. I've got the fresh product. I let it simmer for an hour or so. Watch so it doesn't burn. And then here's the option. A lot of people like their vodka sauce really chunky. I tend to have a little smoother. So it's your choice. If you're not going to puree it or mill it, or I like when I'm making a big pot, 5
Tina says vodka gives her a headache.
Yeah, it gives a lot of people a headache, especially the bad stuff. I don't think the amounts and the cookout in the vodka sauce, you do get some residual vodka in there, but I don't know if it's giving anybody headaches.
No, there's not enough to really.
I don't think so.
Feel anything with it, really.
Yeah, although clear white liquors should give the least headache because they have the least contaminants. Your brown liquors are more likely to give a headache, but anything can give you a headache, and too much will definitely give you a headache.
She says she likes it, but it doesn't like her.
Yeah, well, stay away from it. I don't like vodka. I really don't. I don't care for it. So some people like a really chunky sauce. I tend to smooth it down a little bit, but if you're not going to puree it in any form, make sure all of your onions are really small. Make sure whatever pork product you use is really small, so it doesn't get in the way. So what I'll do is I keep it pretty oily, and I puree it all. Bring all that product of herbs and onions and garlic and pancetta or pork product, blend it up, and then I will take, say for a gallon, I will use between a quart and a pint of heavy cream. I'll pour that in, and I'll just blend it in at the end because I don't really want to cook it, so it'll kind of help cool things down a little bit. I'll just stir it in at the end. And what I want to do with and then I'll cool it down and hold it or freeze it or something. Um, the heavy cream really takes the edge off and starts to pull it together nicely. Um, and that's why I keep the paste so heavy, because that cream adds more liquid at the end and you need to get the adjustment. So you're really emulsifying a tomato cream herb soup. Um, and then how I pick it up makes a difference. I will take some chopped garlic. I will take a decent amount of olive oil. I will lightly toast or lightly brown a small amount of garlic. I will add in a pinch more pepper flake. I will add in at that point pancetta or prosciutto in addition for garnish that isn't ground up but is visible. And and then I will end up putting the vodka sauce, which was prepared and warmed up or had ready, into that saute pan. And I will frequently put a little more vodka in. I will put in a half an ounce or something for a portion. Possibly as I'm finishing up toasting my garlic and oil, but then you got to be careful for the flare up, or after I put the sauce in. So again, it's raw vodka. You're not cooking it out like wine or brandy. And then I will taste it and check that salt and pepper are all right. And of course I salted my sauce. It's a pretty aggressive salt and pepper to begin with. I'll put my pasta in and give it a toss. And the last thing I'll do is I'll take a good pat of butter, like 2 pats of butter for a portion. It might be a tablespoon, almost half an ounce, and I will emulsify or swirl that butter in, because you get a different flavor from the fresh cream than you do from butter. And I will finish, so it's a pretty high fat. It's very rich, and so it's the most robust tomato sauce I make, and it comes out really good. It's based on some things I did at other places. It's shown really well at a variety of formats. Our area only makes a little bit of vodka sauce, and again, there's so many different ways, and I've had other ways that are really good, but around here they tend to be terrible.
There's not a lot around here.
Awful, like they need to not make it because they don't know what they're doing. So this tends to work really well. But it's a little more on the pricing. It's very robust.
Tina's goal this year is to grow enough spices not to buy any from the store.
That's a lot.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Well, some of them are not that hard.
It depends. Some things are like, some things you
like
get
oregano's easy.
Oregano you can get a lot. Well, drying oregano you need a lot.
Yeah.
But oregano and thyme you need tremendous amounts, but they grow like weeds. Things like dill and mustard seed and fennel, depending on how much pickling and things, you could use a reasonable amount, but generally it's not much. So you could do that. Saves a lot, but also some of those spices can be inexpensive compared to you processing them. So it's a give or take. I would not dehydrate parsley.
No.
Of course, dried parsley isn't very useful for many things. You should just keep fresh parsley growing as long as possible and use that, because if you have fresh parsley, dry parsley is a waste.
You can always grow some in pots in the house too on some of these things, and have some winter herbs growing in a sunny window somewhere.
But yeah, it's definitely a great goal to see how many, and then you get some of the rare ones that you would have to buy.
100 cloves of garlic.
Well, you could go through 100 heads of garlic if you're using all your own garlic. Sometimes it's hard to hold it long enough in storage to keep it from going bad, and sometimes it holds great depending on the variety and your storage conditions. But you can lose it sometimes.
Carrie can buy fresh cilantro locally, but not parsley. Only dried available.
That's funny. Well, I mean, you're in cilantro world, so that and dried cilantro is among the worst dried spices you can buy. Total waste. Dried lemongrass. What else?
We have some lemongrass growing right now. A little bit.
Yeah, there's a few things that just have no redeeming value and flavor. Parsley can, in some slow cook preparations, be used, but in general is not real great dried, but it is somewhat useful. Dried cilantro, I just couldn't find a use for it, I don't think. Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, basil. Basil, if you take dry basil and burn it, it totally smells like marijuana. Oregano even more so. Part of it's just the leaf material and the resins burning. from plants kind of have similarities. I don't know if it smells as bad, but yeah, it's in that category. You could definitely mistake it, or from a distance.
Yep. Someone's chewing on my
Drying
finger.
basil is difficult because basil you need again massive amounts, and the dehydration process before it kind of gets sticky or moldy and funky to get it laid out in such a way that you can dry it properly is hard. So I think dry basil might be one of the things that are strongly in your interest, just to let a commercial group handle
What
it.
do plant starts at the farmer's market? What are 4-inch pot herbs going for?
It really depends on the market. The grocery stores are like $3 or $4, I want to say. Sometimes as cheap as $2.50 for this, but that's usually like a 2-inch pot. I want to say the farmer's market is, well, it's much cheaper than the big box stores. Probably most of them are in the 250 range, depending on, again, some of your local farmers are doing tons. That's basically their excess from their own growing, and they just kind of put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then other people, have really nice displays and really premium stuff. They could be in the $2 to $4 a pot.
Yeah.
But I find the farmers market is generally less than, say, Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, whatever. But then sometimes those big box stores have just this massive stuff that they sell really cheap, but you always kind of wonder on the quality. Yeah, you can freeze lemongrass. If you have an abundance of lemongrass that you've harvested or you've purchased, and you want to hold it for a longer period of time, you can definitely. I would clean off the outer leaves. It's really only the main stem that's the most flavorful. And you can buy frozen lemongrass at some of the Asian stores and things. So that is your best way to preserve it. It will hold for sometimes weeks, starting to dehydrate fresh. But yeah, yeah.
Tina, oh, there's a pudding sighting. Apparently, Tina wants to make enough to buy an Excalibur 9 tray.
Yeah, they're nice. They're pricey. We don't have a big or fancy dehydrator. We
have a dog treat dehydrator,
which
that we
is
use.
the same as the cheap ones you
The
buy.
round ones
the
with
round
the
ones.
things in the middle.
And it doesn't have a heat control on it. It doesn't. It's not. It's just got a fan. It works for little projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Excaliburs are awfully nice. I saw a commercial. Somebody was liquidating a bunch of commercial big dehydrators. They were too big for me to make a proper use of them. They were still pretty pricey, but they were way less than. A really good way to handle basil or maybe even cilantro and things is take a little salted water, maybe even a little citric acid, which you can buy granulated for canning, or for or a squeeze of lemon juice or whatever. Puree it in a blender. Add some oil, just a neutral vegetable oil or a cheap olive oil, and so you get kind of a little emulsiony oil and water, and then you can put in ice cube trays and you can freeze it, and the oil and the water will help block it going into the air so much in the freezer. You can pull out the cubes, and if you have the right balance of oil, you can kind of pry the cubes apart because it interacts with the water, and you can take a little slushy oily mess and put that in your pan and cook with that, and it will actually taste basically the same as fresh. So that you can do just straight water, but I like having a little bit of oil in there, a decent amount of oil. But that's a really good way to hold fresh herbs if you have the room and freezer.
Tina has 2 round dehydrators.
Okay.
So they work. We've used them for dehydrating a lot of foraged items more than stuff from the garden.
When you start getting into basil and some of those delicate things, or tomatoes or fruit, you sometimes need the better airflow and heat control, and you can do things like make jerky in them too, especially the ones that have. In fact, we did jerky with the Rhodes and started doing their oven because we could push the heat up in the 100, 120 range, like perfect for making quick jerky, like
That's cool.
1 or 2 day jerky, because you can control how much you get external dehydration versus internal, and you can put a little bit of heat, so not bad for jerky.
Well, we'll do a last call for questions. It's a little bit after 10. We probably should be wrapping up anyway, but if there's any other cooking questions, last minute ones. Otherwise, I will say we weren't planning on doing a live show next week. I'll say likely not, but keep your eyes open.
We might check in or something.
Might do a pop-up quick thing, just to say hi if you guys are interested in that. I won't have time to plan out a full live show, but we will definitely be back to our regular live show the week after next. And we'll see what we have going in February. How's it February already?
February's super busy for us.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
Nuts. What is your February Sunday? Not the 2nd, the next week.
The 10th is fine.
That's a Monday.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
9th.
The 9th. The 9th is fine.
Yeah.
16th is fine. The 23rd, I've got a major event that I'm doing, and Cindy will be attending. So
we'll probably have 2 weeks where we're not doing it.
So we will not, for sure, not be doing the 23rd because we're at All Star Chef's dinner.
You guys remember last year I put up the video of behind the scenes of All Star Chef dinner. He's been invited to do that again this year.
So whole new dinner, whole new group of people. Well, some of us show up again, and whole new set of menu items. So I don't think she'll be doing the
I'm not gonna do
video, but
maybe I'll catch a little glimpse.
A spouse or invited guests are
invited to dinner.
So Cindy will be able to be a patron.
Yes.
To what we're doing. So
But if you're interested in seeing what that sort of big meal is like,
she
8 chefs.
8 chefs plus their staff.
8 courses, 8 chefs. Each chef has their own course that they do for that.
Based on we're given courses, and then we submit wild and crazy things we love to make and eat, fancy stuff, and we do it for about 125 people, something like that.
Tina's husband was in town this weekend. Put the door on the front porch grow room that
that was the most expensive and the hardest part of our build out. In fact, it probably was at least a third of our cost was the frame. Doing a heavier duty frame out and putting the door on,
because it's floating in place too, and that's part of it.
Yeah, and we need the way our setup is, and we need that door to be accessible for people to use it.
It's our front door,
not just a junk little floppy wood frame thing that people aren't sure if they're supposed to go in it.
So I'm trying to see if we'll forgive you if you make
a video. Well, might get a few plate snapshots from the dinner.
We'll definitely have pictures. We'll definitely have pictures from dinner. We'll get some snapshots there.
She won't be at the main dinner. She'll be at the after dinner with the chefs, and that's kind of an exclusive. It's a private dinner. Yeah. So we had a couple. I think you had some of the description stuff from video, but then we kind of cut off video. Because it's the chefs and their wives or their sous chef, and it's a birthday party. And it's kind of at that point we're kind of unwinding and having a good time, and it's a private event at that point. So
So if you're interested in that, you could check out last year's All Star Chefs video. That was kind of fun to make, and it came out probably in March, I want to say, because it was a lot of work to put that one together. Miranda, hello.
How you doing?
Yes.
Yeah, we're just kind of wrapping things up, but
we should check out the replay if you like. We were talking about seed starting and food, but we will maybe not see you guys next week, depending on whether or not we decide to do a pop-up live show from the other side of the state. But we definitely will see you the week after. So I think we should wrap up for tonight. I hope everybody has a great week. Get your seeds orders. Let us know next time what you've ordered if you haven't already done that.
Live show repeat will be up pretty soon.
Yep, and
if you caught us towards the middle.
Yep, towards the middle or end, you can watch the repeat once it processes itself.
So there you go, Homestead. So we're kind of coming to an end, but we'll have the repeat up.
Yep. So we will catch you guys next time. Maybe not next week, but otherwise every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care, you guys. Have a good week or two.